I want a figure of a pop star Marvel character that's a mutant. And I feel like that was enough, but obviously with Marvel Rivals being so big right now, she was like, "Oh, okay, I know exactly who you want. I'll get it for you." And so our Secret Santas come in, and then I notice that it's a Funko Pop, and I get so excited. I'm like, "Oh my god, I got this." And it's Luna freaking Snow instead of Dazzler. And I was just like, "You've seen my TikToks. My profile picture is Dazzler. What makes I only play Cloak and Dagger on Marvel Rivals. What makes you think that I wanted Luna Snow?"
Imagining you holding a wrapped Funko, being excited, thinking it's Dazzler, and then it being Luna, that is
It
devastating.
was
I would
a
still be mad about it too.
disappointment.
Yeah.
And since then, I've been reading, more Luna Snow stuff. I
Mhm.
can't dive with her character.
No.
Yeah.
That Luna Snow one shot that came out earlier this year was easily one of the worst things I've read in a
Yeah.
very, very long time.
I got so many people to buy that, and a lot of people messaged me saying, Brandon, that was kinda shit." And I was like, "I'm sorry, I know."
Welcome back, everyone, to Caffeinated Comic Club. This is a podcast where Marsh and I talk about comics and other things that we are obsessed with at the moment, and also sometimes I cry. It's a whole vibe. It's a whole thing. If this is your first time here, we used to read a whole book and then give a really detailed thing. Now we're doing that in a very different way. So today's book that we're going to talk about, which is Dan In Green Gables, I will give a very short summary, but then the three of us will dive in together and talk about things. It is Pride Month. I am very gay. And so I asked Marsh if it would be cool if we could have some other creators from the comic book community come on and guest other queer creators. And Marsh was graceful enough to let me do that. And our first guest for this week is at Branditoverse. What would you like us to call you throughout this pod?
You can just call me Brandon. That's
Brandon.
perfectly fine
Okay.
with me.
Brandon is, you know what? Actually, I'm gonna let you talk about your journey with comics for a little minute. Who are your favorites? Things like that.
Yeah, so I'm happy to be on the podcast. Thank you for inviting me over. My journey with comics. Well, I'm fairly new to actually reading comic books. I started reading comic books, which is kind of crazy to think about, like 2 years ago. And then I started creating TikToks about me reading comic books about a year ago. So it's kind of crazy to think that throughout this kind of comic book reading journey, I've met so many people. But as probably most of us here, I didn't start off. I kind of got introduced with comic book characters through TV or through cartoons. So I watched X Men. I watched I don't even remember, like, the Justice League cartoons, I don't even remember all of them. I know Powerpuff Girls was technically, like, a DC comic show as well, even though it's just Cartoon Network. But I was watching a lot of cartoons that kind of got me into comics, but, like, just in a generic way of pop culture. And one of my most favorite cartoons growing up was the X-Men series, and I just remember watching that Saturday mornings as a kid with my cousins, and, just I don't know, that was just like a family thing to do. But kind of moving forward, to now, I started reading comics 2 years ago when I walked into a comic book store, totally random. I had some friends visiting from out of town, and they're like, "Are there any local comic book stores nearby you?" And I was like, "I don't know. I've never been to one." And they're like, "Oh, we should go ahead and visit one." I was like, "Okay, sure. Why not? I mean, I'm not gonna buy anything." So I walk into the comic book store and I'm like, "Okay, this is interesting, but like I'm not really that big into like comic characters or anything." And as I'm walking around, of course, I see some characters that I'm familiar with, Batman, Batgirl, X-Men, just a whole bunch of characters that are, prevalent in pop culture comic book. And I walked past this one X-Men comic, and I cannot tell you what it was. But it was a X-Men comic that had Dazzler on the cover. And I was like, "Who is this diva, and how can I learn more about her?" I pick up the X-Men comic, and why do I not have it to this day? I don't know. But I pick up the X-Men comic, and I'm like, "I need to see what she's about." And of course, sometimes there are comic books that, feature a character on the cover and then that character is not in the comic at all. So I kinda, like, read through the comic or, like, browsed through the comic in the store, and I was like, "I don't see her anywhere. I need to know who this is." So I took a picture of her, and I immediately went to Google, and I was like, "Who is this X-Men character?" And then I learned about Dazzler from there, and that's kind of where it started it all. I jumped straight into the 1980s run of, Dazzler, and it's been history since, honestly. That's kind of where just jumped into the whole Marvel world in general, like, no background, no nothing. I knew X-Men existed, like, with Scarlet Witch, the Avengers, and, I knew, like, the world of Marvel because of the movies, because they were so big at the time, but I did not know anything about this one character, and I think it's interesting because when I first started my TikTok journey, like, a lot of creators were recommending just start off with a character that you like, and, like, the rest is history. And that's exactly what I did without anybody advising me about that. Dazzler really did start it all with me, and she is definitely, like, not probably not my very favorite character anymore, but she's definitely now in my top 5, and I think that's going to stay that way forever.
Yeah, I love that you finding the characters through TV is such a universal experience for so many of us. Isn't that how you discovered the Fantastic Four, Marsh?
I did watch the Fantastic Four on, like, Boomerang and stuff when I was growing up, and they were showing I they showed, like, a late 60 or a late '60s show that's, like, very, like, Super Friends-esque, kinda like Scooby-Doo kind of art and stuff. Reed didn't really treat Sue very well. 'Cause it was late '60s, you know? But there was, like, science, and the villains were always, like, super weird, and Doctor Doom's always scary, but there also was, like, a '90s cartoon, and then in the, like, late 2000s, maybe early 2010s, there was, like an anime-esque version of the Fantastic Four. It's on
Mhm.
Netflix. It's actually really
I
good.
remember.
It's actually
I
really, really good.
remember that. So I wanna go back for just 1 second. When you say Reed didn't treat Sue really well, what does that mean? Was he just like, "Get out of here, you stupid woman," like
I
that kind of 60s dad
I
energy,
mean,
or was he, like, really mean?
it's just like in the comics, you know, like you've read a couple of the Silver Age books. You know, he kind of like says those like offhanded comments that are very, very 60s. And you're like, oh, cool, it's very prevalent.
There you know,
But
Lee
you
and
know,
Kirby,
yeah,
they were
no,
young.
no, I would even say it was Lee more than Kirby.
I swear reading back old comics, the language just always gets you, and it's like a slap across the face. It's like, "Oh, that was normal
Mhm.
back then to say something like that."
Yeah. Yeah, I was telling Gare, I've been reading the beginnings of Daredevil, and, one of my most hated tropes in the world is, like, when you have, like, the superhero with his, like, guy best friend, and, like, you have the one female, and they both love her, and I'm like, "This is dumb. I read this in Iron Man,
Yeah,
I don't wanna read it again," so it's just I hate that trope,
they
and
still do it.
I know, and it's always like, "They don't love me. She can never love someone like me," and I'm like, "Oh my god. Poor man. Poor man." Sorry, okay.
No rights. Take away their rights. What does Mitch say? What does your sister say?
Do they deserve rights? Let's discuss.
Let's discuss. Yeah. Marsh, do you have any comic book news this week? I didn't pull any comic news because I felt like I was going to talk a whole lot about this book. So I was like, I don't even know if we need to do comic news because it
Um,
might turn into a 2 hour podcast.
no, I don't have anything except that I think pre-orders for Terminal have started, so you should check that out.
Yeah, I need to get
This
on that.
was
So,
it's like The Walking Dead meets the X-Men, and it's
Kirkman is
by
writing it,
Robert
right?
Kirkman, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I need to tap in on that. What are everyone's pulls for the week? Do you know what comics you're picking up this week? If you are picking up any comics this week?
Oh, I will be very honest, I've been very sporadic with my comic book pickups. Like, I've been very
I wish I
sporadic.
was more like you.
I was telling my husband today, I was like, "I'm just gonna cancel all my books and just get the Fantastic Four and just not buy anything else." Like, I just feel like I'm spending so much money on comic books, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's how I
No,
felt at the beginning of the year. And
And
I
they're
was like,
just
"Okay,
sitting.
so."
I have a whole stack that's just still here. I read like 4 last week, and I'm gonna buy 5, so I made no progress this week. So I'm just it's to the point where I'm just
Oh,
like, do I even read them? No. Do I even need to buy them? Probably not. But I think it's the
that's like
FOMO. The FOMOs
yeah,
really
I
get
think it's
you.
the FOMO for sure, and, like, definitely that's kinda why I had to, like, take a step back from, like, social media a bit because 'cause I'm just like, "Okay, I am buying all these comics, not because" well, yeah, it's because I want to, but, like, because everyone else is buying a lot of comics.
Mhm.
So, I had a moment of like, "Okay, Brandon, like, you have this huge stack of unread comics, and you're on a little bit of a reading slump right now, so, like, let's not buy more until you've read at least half of this stack," which
That's
I
fair.
am going through right now.
That's fair. I'm also in a reading slump. Like I just don't I was telling Chris, my husband, I was like, "I don't wanna read." And he's like, "Then why
Mm,
do you buy them?" And I'm like, "Because you have to buy them." Like
mm. Yeah, it's
like
like an addiction. It
and
is.
and he's like, "But you don't like to read them right now." And I'm like, "You are correct." He's like, "I don't understand."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "I don't know how to explain it."
It's kinda weird, and, like, my partner's the same way. He's just like, "I haven't seen you read a comic book in a while. Why are you buying comics?" I'm like, "I don't know. I need to stop." And I did stop. Well, I've been pretty good at not buying comics. I will say, and I don't know if this is well, actually, let's talk about our polls this week before
Okay.
we move on. I am buying a pretty gay book this week. I am buying Harley and Ivy, Life and Crimes, issue number 6. It's been really good. I've been enjoying this series a lot. I don't know if it ends after this. I don't know how many issues is in this series, but oh, this might be the last one. Aw. But I've been enjoying it a lot.
I've wondered about that one. I might end up picking up the trade on that because I see it and I, like, feel the FOMO, but I have not grabbed any because I missed, like, the first 2.
Sure.
Do you wanna go next, Mel?
Oh, is that all you're getting this week? Sorry.
Yeah,
My
that's
fault.
it.
My fault.
That's it.
I need you to teach me your ways 'cause, I
I
don't
look at
have
the price tag and I'm like,
it's valid.
never mind.
So I only have 4 pulls this week actually, which is actually amazing. Batman number 10, Bat Fraction.
Mhm.
Been very, very good. One that I kept on my list because it's Batman. Cyclops number 5, which I think ends this week.
It does.
Still have only read the first issue. So this is my problem. This is what I'm saying. I don't read anything.
Well, with
Uh
this one, you can just read them all and get the whole story.
I know,
It'll
but
be
see,
it'll be
I could have
great.
just trade weighted and bought the trade.
That is so true. So
It's
true.
it saved like $5. Like Fantastic Four number 12, and then Mighty Morphin Power Rangers number 1.
Oh my god, I didn't realize that was this week.
Mhm.
Well,
Yep.
shoot.
I wanna read it. Hopefully, I like it. If I even read it, it'll
Yeah,
probably just sit in my pile over there.
I mean, I like the concept of it. I like that they're adults now and having to become Power Rangers again. It's the same group. I think that should be fun. Maybe
Oh,
it will be.
I actually didn't know
Um,
the plot of that.
my polls for the week are a lot more than you guys. And so, like, you were like, "I'm just gonna pull Fantastic Four and that's it." Earlier, I was like, "I would love to do that with X-Men, but
You have
I'm
like
pulling
20
Uncanny
titles.
Yeah.
X-Men number 29, Uncanny X-Men number 29, Fantastic Four number 12, Cyclops number 5, that's 2 X-Men books so far, Storm number 5, X-Men of Apocalypse number 4, What If Uncanny X-Men number 1, X-Men 97 season 2 number 1."
My goodness.
That's it. 6 X books this week. Bishop is coming out in 2 weeks. I think Outback's coming out in 3 weeks. Like, it's they keep adding more, and I'm like, "Well, I'm the only person in the world who's reading X-Men right now, you guys. No one else talks about it."
I
For
one thing I
DC, go
hate
ahead.
one thing I hate about, Marvel Unlimited is that, like, you have to wait 3 months to read a new issue, and I'm gonna be very honest with you, I mean and I hate to say this in the podcast, Age of Revelation burnt me the hell out with
Oh,
all
yeah.
of the issues that I was buying every single week, and it made me realize, like, "Oh my gosh." And I'm not I read X-Men, but I've never bought X-Men issues. It made me realize, like, "Oh my gosh, X-Men, you really gotta, like, prepare yourself 'cause there's always something being released, and it's not just one thing, there's always, like, at least 3 runs of X-Men always going on. So you gotta pick
Mhm.
and choose your battles, at least when it comes to X-Men, and, like, I totally agree with you. I don't think that many people are reading it, or if they are, I mean, it's just, like, maybe a few miniseries here and there, but I wish more people were reading X-Men.
It's too woke for
Yeah,
them.
that is, and honestly, that is the truth. It is too woke for them. They
Mm.
do when they do read it, they're mad, and I do not understand that. The
Yeah.
the amount of times that I've texted Marsh and been like, "Hey, I'm about to lose it on TikTok. Should I post this video?" And then I'll post a video and then delete it like 20 minutes later of me just like being like, "You guys don't know how to read." I get so tilted with people on the TikTok platform. For DC, I'm getting Batman number 10, Batgirl number 20, Supergirl Survive number 1, and Justice League Dream Girls, a DC Pride event. And then Mighty Morphin Power Rangers number 1 and nothing from Image. I'm free from Image this week. It feels great. But then again, that's still like 11 books or something like that. Cannot deal with it right now. The whole conversation about like the FOMO of it all on TikTok is so real. The amount of books that I have bought, like for instance, I bought that freaking Capes book that's like set within the Invincible universe because I knew that everyone would be talking about it and I wanted to like have an opinion or say something if I wanted to, you know? And then I was like, this is fucking garbage. Sorry to anyone listening who likes that book. For me, I was like, what is this shit? It's apparently a really good book, just not for me. But yeah, the amount of times that I have fallen prey to the FOMO,
You
I can really
gotta
relate.
actually hold on. I'm gonna draw a picture. You can keep talking and I'll show you the picture in a second.
Yeah,
Are you
I'm very picky with TikTok recommendations. I can't. I've fallen victim to it a few times where I've read a book and I'm just like, why did I spend money on that? And then everyone's
mhm.
like, this is amazing. This is okay. The most recent one that I can think of is, and yeah, people are gonna hate me for saying this. It was Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow.
It's
What
a
is that?
pirate flag. Let your
A
pirate flag fly.
I gotta be better about that.
I
I
am
do.
pretty good about that. I'm pretty good about that. When I need to be, when I need to be. But yeah, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. It was pretty. It was pretty. I will say that it was a very pretty book. But other than that, it was kind of a drag getting through it for sure.
I I think a lot of people actually agree with you on that.
Mm.
I've seen a lot of people talk about that. I liked it, but only because I've read so much Supergirl and it did not feel like a Supergirl story, so it felt fresh to me. But I could see where like someone would tilt the other way. So like I completely get that. It is a very pretty book. That
It's very
horse,
pretty.
the way they drew the horse scene in
Oh my
space. You
gosh,
haven't read
yes.
that yet. There's
I
a
haven't
horse in
read it yet.
space, Marsh. Sorry,
There's
spoiler.
You're
The horse
fine.
in
It's
space.
fine. I'll probably see the movie before I even read it, so it doesn't matter to me.
the movie
We're fine here.
probably won't even
That's true. You're
have
not wrong.
anything to do.
I will say Lobo is not in that book at all.
No.
Oh,
Why do we need Lobo? To sell tickets to boys that are straight.
Right.
That's
tell
the
him.
truth. That's
Tell him.
DC Deadpool. DC Deadpool. I'll
DC
have to do something.
Deadpool.
One of the many DC Deadpools. Well, before we dive into our book of the week, I did have one more like question for you, Brandito, about or Brandon, excuse me, about the your relationship to comics, like when it comes to your queerness. Like, have there been characters that you've read throughout your life that you like really related to in that moment and like can see a through line like that you connect to like in your queerness other than Dazzler or would you say that Dazzler fills that void?
It's kind of hard to think about it, especially when it comes to comics, as I'm still kind of like new and figuring out my favorites here and there. Typically, when it comes to my queerness, I usually always relate to like female characters. That's the one thing that I relate to the most. I would say there's not that many male characters, at least in comics, that I relate to a lot. Of course, there are quite a few queer characters in comics. But I guess I can't relate to them in a way that I relate to some of the female characters and the struggles that they go through. Because I mean, I feel like characters like Dazzler, even like Felicia Hardy, like Black Cat, the issues that they go through, it's kind of like sure it's normal struggle, but it's also kind of queer coded as well in a sense where with Dazzler, you know, she did so much to get the approval of her father, and then at the very end, she's like, "No, daddy, I wanna sing," and then he just instantly casted her out, and that's kinda, like, how I related to Dazzler a lot, at least at the very beginning, and then with, Felicia Hardy, kind of like I feel like she just hard launched her queerness, within the comics, just all of a sudden, she's a bisexual, And I actually really like that in a sense because, she's a really badass woman. And I also kind of hard launched my coming out. So like I kind of like enjoyed that as well. When I think of like male queer characters, I do think about like characters like Tim Drake, Robin, who I started reading the new 52 Teen Titans primarily because I was interested in Tim Drake, the bi Robin. It's definitely, like, sprinkled in, the bi-ness at the beginning of the Teen Titans, like, there are some comments that Wonder Girl makes, like, "I see how you're looking at him." She just makes, like, random, comments throughout the comic book, kind of alluding to his queerness, but never actually saying anything, and it's kind of crazy to believe, like, as I was reading more about Tim Drake's Robin, especially, like, within New 52 and Rebirth, a lot of people were like, "Oh, they hard launched his bisexualness," and I'm like, "No, the crumbs were always there, like, they were always there, you were just not picking them up." Like, he was always bisexual in the New 52 comics, you just chose not to look at that, and I kind of closely related to that because, I never explicitly told people I was queer growing up until one day I was like, "Yeah, I am." Like, "So what?" Like, I didn't make it, like, a big deal, someone just, like, asked me, I was like, "Yeah, I am. What now?" And that's kind of how I came about my whole, like, coming out, especially with my family as well. But yeah, that's kind of, like, my connection to, like, the characters that I have in comics.
I love that you just answered it like that because like when people ask that question, a lot of the times it feels like if they ask it in a way that's like clearly negative,
Yeah.
like it feels like they're having a gotcha moment, like
Mhm.
and I love that you just flipped that on them and then just
Oh,
went
yeah.
with it.
Oh, yeah, for
That's
sure.
powerful.
And that's, not I don't wanna switch topics too quickly, but, like, I really liked the book that we're reading, and I know we'll talk about it more, but, like, I really enjoyed Daniel, like, his character was really good, and I felt some kind of connection towards him throughout the entire book, for sure.
I completely agree with that. Um, before we do dive into it, I just wanna say I have not read any by Tim Drake at all, but you saying that it's, like, sprinkled in,
Oh,
people
yeah.
just don't really be reading. Like,
Oh, no.
if there's a boom on the page, they pay attention, but if there's, like, a little conversation, flip, flip, flip. I live for the conversation, you know?
Yeah, like, as I was reading, like, all the Teen Titans, like, a few months ago, I was just like, "This boy is bisexual," and he clearly has like, a hot thing for Superboy. Like, I mean, I would've too if I was a teenager around, like, that muscle around me all the time. So, like, yeah, it was definitely like, come on, people, like, they did not hard launch bisexual Tim Drake. He's been bisexual, you just were not paying attention.
I've definitely gotta pick it up. I've definitely gotta pick
Mhm.
it up. Okay. Are y'all ready to talk about our book for the week?
Yeah.
Yep.
Alright. This week we read Dan in Green Gables by Ray Terciero and Claudia Aguirre, which is a modern reimagining of Anne of Green Gables by not Louisa May Alcott. Who wrote this book? Who wrote the original one?
It's in the
My
back.
gay ass not knowing who wrote Anne of Green Gables and no, L.M. Montgomery, Lucy Maud Montgomery. That is
Lucy
her name.
Montgomery, yes.
So I am going to read a like little summary that I have like cobbled together from like the Kirkus reviews. So know that what is following is not my own very smart retelling of this book. I'm just going to read you what the Kirkus review said. Dan in Green Gables is a queer graphic novel reimagining of Anne of Green Gables. Instead of Anne Shirley, the story follows 15-year-old Dan Stewart Alvarez, a charismatic, fashion loving queer teen who has spent most of his life traveling with his unreliable mother. When she abruptly leaves him with his paternal grandparents on a farm in rural Tennessee in 1995, Dan is forced to build a new life in a place where he feels like he doesn't belong. As Dan adjusts to farm life in high school, he deals with homophobia, clashes with his conservative grandfather, makes new friends, develops a crush, and gradually discovers what home really means. Much like Anne, his optimism, imagination, and larger than life personality slowly win over the people around him. Initial thoughts, general thoughts about the book before we dive into specific things. How did everyone like it or dislike it? How did everyone feel?
I liked it a lot. Obviously, I could not relate to Dan, but I could empathize and like really emotionally, I guess, to certain situations. But I really liked it a lot. I really liked how he stood up for himself because like in not elementary school and like middle school and stuff, like I was super into sports, so it's like a tomboy and stuff. and, like, I was never, like, one of the girls that, like, wore the Hollister, like, wore her hair down or anything like that. And so, like, I have this memory. I was walking in my soccer sweats down the hallway, and this boy said something to me that was very rude. Basically, he called me he I was walking down the hallway, and he was like, I don't even wanna say it. He was like, "Hey, Dyke, where you going?" And, like, immediately from then on, I was, like, so worried about what everybody thought of me. I completely, like, went introverted. I was already kinda introverted, but I was, like, just didn't wanna do anything, stand up for myself. I just kinda, like, ran to the bathroom and hid. So, yeah. So, I'm glad that he was able to stand up for himself because I was not.
Yeah, that's incredibly relatable. I wasn't a Daniel either growing up. I was very, very repressed in my gayness for a long time, so I was just like, "No, no." Like, I was that one. That TikTok meme where it's like, "He's not gay, he just really loves Vanessa Hudgens." Like, that was me. I was the guy in that video, you know? So, I hate that that happened for you because kids fucking suck sometimes.
Yeah.
It
Kids are really
sucked.
mean.
Yeah. I really liked one of my favorite things about Dan in the book was that he knew how to take care of himself. He knew how to stand up for himself and he had boundaries. That's all things that I can relate to. Biblically, I will say Dan is an Aries like me because he acted like one. He definitely didn't let anybody kind of tear him down and he was always ready to fight, either it be like physically or verbally. I was never ready to fight physically in school, but I was always ready to like tear a bitch down. So,
Mhm.
or at the very least, make sure that if they're going to make me have a bad day, then they're also gonna have a bad day. So that's kind of the attitude that I had throughout school. I will honestly say I mean, I don't know if it's like a I don't I hate to say it kind of like in a way that makes me sound like better, but like I wasn't really bullied in high school or throughout school at all. I was very clearly kind of like a nerdy, possibly queer kid, but no one ever really bullied me because I always made sure to kind of stand up for myself. And if you're going to embarrass me, then I for sure as hell am going to embarrass you right back. That still gets me in trouble in my current job, or just in current life in general. I have a partner who I've been with for 10 years, and he's like, "Please, like, you're a really nice person, but sometimes you come across as a Karen." And I'm like, "I don't do it intentionally, but if you're gonna give me a nasty face, I'm gonna give you a nasty face back." Then that's just, like, the type of person I am, and, throughout school, I said this earlier in the podcast, I had people who would ask me, and I'm like, "No, I'm not gay," or, like, as I was inching towards accepting it, like, "Oh, maybe I'm bisexual." But, like, just one day I had enough, and I was just like, "I'm gay. So what? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do about it?" And I don't know. I just like people just didn't bother me, and that's exactly what Daniel did his first day of school. He knew that he was gonna get bullied. He knew that, there was a lot of things gonna happen because he had gone through all of these different schools, and I relate to that 100% because growing up, I also went to, like, a different school almost every single year up until, like, high school. So I kind of already knew that, like, it's gonna be new people. They're gonna mess with you a little bit, and you need to, like, really establish who you are at the beginning, because if you don't, they're gonna with you throughout the entire year. So, like, I really related to Daniel in that regard.
Mhm. That was my very first note on this was, like, we have to talk about how resilient of a protagonist
Mhm.
he is because, like, there are so many instances of many different people, like, trying to squash his joy and his light, and he just fights through it.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a pretty strong trait to have as a teenager. I feel like most teenagers are not that headstrong, especially queer teenagers, so it was really lovely to see because I'm like, imagine, like, the queer kids that pick this book up and it, like, gives them a strength that, like, I specifically didn't have in my
Oh,
teen
yeah.
years, and I also wrote my second note was Dolly Parton. Full stop, that's all it said, Dolly Parton. I loved how much Dolly was in this book. That's something that I related to a lot. Just growing up, Dolly was kind of always like a secret thing of mine. I loved Dolly so much, and I was like, there were a lot of moments reading this book where I was like, "Is this fucking play about me?" Like, that's how I felt throughout it. The church scenes was also something that I wanted to talk about. That was, like, one of the only times in the book where I was, like, deeply uncomfortable, and I don't know if it's, like, Southern Baptist trauma for me, but were they uncomfortable for you guys to read, or is it literally just, like, my church trauma
I
speaking
skipped
in
through
my
them.
brain?
Oh, that's fair.
You what?
I skipped through them, or I didn't skip, I, like, very quickly skimmed because, like, yeah, I grew up in a Christian church, a Latin American one. I mean, I don't know the denomination, but, yeah, it would be, like, the same thing, hateful rhetoric towards certain marginalized groups, and, like, I just knew from the pictures what they were saying. Like, I didn't even have to read, like, any of the dialogue. I was just like, "I already know what this is about." Like, I can't read. That was probably, like, the only part of the book when I was just like, "Yeah, let me just move past this because, like, if I read this, I'm gonna get pissed off."
Mhm, mhm. Yeah,
Um,
no.
I also got uncomfortable though, just because much like you, Gary, I also have Southern Baptist trauma from growing up. So yeah, what is it? What's the words? Ain't no hate like Christian love. Is that what it is?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
That's exactly what it is. It was yeah, so triggering in such a weird way because, like, I was very active in church when I was growing up. Like, I was a Bible school teacher at, like, 13, 14. I had a like, was working in the summer. I had a whole class. Like, I was that overexcelling kid. Kinda similar to Daniel, like, with the whole fall festival that he plans in this book. Like, when he does start doing things for the church, that's kind of who I was. And then one day, a lady, she is dead now, so, rest in peace, Wilma, came up to me in a dollar store. My granny, who I went to church with, we went to the dollar store, and granny sent me in to get something, and Wilma, this lady from church, who was always super nice to me, was there. And I was like, "Hey, Wilma," and I think I said it a little too gay. And she was like, "You're gonna burn where you're gonna go one day." And I was like, "In the dollar store? What the fuck?" I was 15 and I went back. I was just like devastated. Went back and told my granny what she said, and she was like, "We're not going back to church." And literally never went back. My granny never went back to church after that. She prayed at home and I became an atheist. So
I have an almost similar story to that. It was in the church itself, but, I guess, like, it was, like, those late night hours and, like, they let the kids just play, and I was in a room with obviously all the girls, and we were playing, like, Runway Model or something like that, where we were pretending to be models walking down the runway, and obviously during my session, one of the church ladies walks through and she's like, "You're a boy and you shouldn't be playing that and you're gonna go to hell." And immediately after that, like, I think I was like 8 or 9 at the time. Definitely not a teenager, maybe like a preteen. I don't know. I was definitely young. I literally told my grandma, "I'm not going to church anymore." And we had the biggest argument. And I was like, "No, I'm not going to go to church. If you take me I was a problem growing up. I was and still am a problem. I was like, "If you take me to church, I will scream and then you will have a terrible time at church." And she never took me to church again. And that was like the last time I ever willingly went to church. I probably went like a couple times after, but I don't remember.
that's so wild. Because, like, it the fact that both of us had an experience where someone's actions in the name of God is what
Mm,
stopped us from going back.
mm,
Like you said, Marsh, ain't no hate like Christian love. Like, that
Mhm.
is oof. And, like, I know good Christians, I know good Christian liberals who are lovely,
mm,
but the sad reality is the vast majority, especially down here in the Bible Belt, is not like the good ones at all.
mhm,
Speaking of the good ones, the lovely ones, I do want to talk about the three significant relationships in the book, and I figure we could start with the mama because it'll probably be the longest. The mama is the thing that I related to the most in the book. I often say that so much of me is made up by like the strong women in my life who have nurtured me growing up, be that my grandmother, my mom, the female friends that I've had, and I felt like she was written so ridiculously beautifully. like from beginning to end. Even when she was frustrated with him, she was so generous with him, and so she watered him, like his garden, so much to help him bloom. And I like whenever I posted on TikTok and was like, I pretty much cried the whole book, it was because of that woman. Yeah, I just relate to that a lot. She was so much like my mama was, and it's just a very beautiful, beautiful character.
No, yeah, I agree 100%. She was definitely one of my favorite characters in the book for sure. Kinda made me wish I had, like, a strong female, like, in person in my life growing up. My entire family's had strong, so didn't really have, like, that, like, nurturing kind of, like, upcoming. So it was really nice seeing, the mama really take care of him, accept him, even stand up for him, against, like, the grandpa as well, who took a while to come around, and even when he did come around, he would revert to back to his old ways, so he would do a lot of back and forth, but the mama really was, like she was there for him, like, from the get-go, and I really
Mhm.
liked her character.
The mama was definitely probably my favorite character, besides Daniel, of course. Just, I mean, like all of y'all said, just the way that she was nurturing, the way that she um stood up for Daniel in like a way that other people weren't. It just the stuff that she taught him too was kind of
Mm.
beautiful. One of the most touching parts for me was when he went and canned the peaches for her while they were out. Oh, that was beautiful. Because canning anything is a hassle if you've ever done it. So
A
uh,
nightmare.
it's
Actually,
it's a nightmare.
nightmare.
So I just thought that was beautiful, and just the way that she always kind of believed him whenever, like, especially like during like the fight. He's like, I didn't start it, and she asked him one more time, and he told her the truth, and she believed him. And I wish that I had a parent or a guardian like that, just because like usually I had to like reiterate myself to
Mhm,
say that it wasn't my fault. Yeah, I do wish that we had gotten more information on the dad. It's like there were
Mhm.
so many like unanswered questions from that aspect. Like I wanted to know how old he was
There
when he ran away
Yeah.
and stuff like that, because like it made him seem like he was a teenager when he left, which I guess would make sense if it was like the 70s, like the late 70s. I guess that would make
mhm.
sense. But yeah, no, and I
Yeah,
just
I think the
really
only
felt.
photos they showed of the dad was him as, like, a teenager,
Mhm.
like Daniel, and they looked
Hmm.
exactly like,
They did. They
Mhm.
did.
There were only three moments where Mama and Daniel talked about the dad, and it was very minimal information that we got, which probably was on purpose to keep us in the same knowledge as him, but I definitely needed more on
Hmm.
him too. I will say, I bet that reading Mama, like, as a mother yourself, was probably pretty emotional sometimes, especially now that you've said that you wish that you had a guardian like that, because, like, you get to be that now, and that's really cool in and of itself.
And don't get me wrong, kids can be assholes, right? Like they truly can be like little monsters. But hopefully, I'm able to like bring Reed up right where he's not a little monster. If that makes sense. Just because like my mom also was a teacher, and she was telling me all of these horror stories, especially like now that they're all like computer based and like nothing is in like a textbook anymore. Like it, it's always the teacher's fault, never the parents or the kid's fault. It always
mhm,
falls on the teacher. I was just like, I really don't want my kid to be that way. I really want him to be like a good kid. And it happens at home, right? Like that's where it
yeah,
starts. But the part that did get me is when we found out why Daniel's dad left. And I have told Chris this before. I said, if you ever lay hands on him, he won't. Don't get me wrong. He won't.
Mhm.
But I'm just saying, I'd be like, we're gone. That's it. We're out. I'm out. Because I don't. Nope, nope. And someone said that he broke that the dad broke his Mima's heart and Daniel's dad's heart that same night when he was struck. And I was like, yes, because A, you hit your son, and B, he ran away. Like I would be crushed
yeah,
if
Mhm.
that ever happened, and you never
Yeah.
got to see your son
Um,
ever again.
and that was
Heartbreaking.
the first time he had ever hit him too, and, like, they apparently argued all the time. For our listeners, the grandfather in this, earlier I mentioned he was conservative. He was a very aggressive, conservative, angry old Southern man who I've met a
mhm,
million times.
mhm,
I interact with on a daily basis. You know, down here in Alabama, that man is like by the dozen. So
Mhm.
I was worried a little bit whenever I started to realize what was happening with the granddad in this book, because I thought it might be a bit triggering for me to read. Because again, it's I'm not very far from where they are. I'm like a 3 hour drive from where this book is set, so everything around here is the same. But I loved the journey of Daniel and Papa starting to figure each other out, even though it was pretty painful and pretty rough.
Yeah.
Whew, the word sissy, I was like, damn, that hurts worse than like any of the slurs that I've been called in my life. That word right there, sissy, I don't know why. I don't know if it's a Southern thing or not, but I was like, oh, you need to stop calling him that. Call him any fucking other thing but sissy. It's like this boy, like he just has a little earring and he's like he's wearing a silk shirt.
Mhm.
And it's like, I don't know, it's a freaking kid. I just can't, like, the amount of cruelty that's placed on this kid is baffling to me.
Yeah.
How did y'all feel about the journey with the grandpa? And, like, were you satisfied with the, like, final confrontation scene in the bedroom when Daniel's, like, packing his things to leave after they've had a fight, and he's like, "Hit me and I'll leave just like my dad left when you hit him."
Mhm. Well, like, that's definitely I kind of relate to that because I was that type of teenager too, where I'd be like, I would bring up hurtful stuff just to hurt, like, my parents if they did me wrong. So I definitely see where Daniel was coming from in that point. He was like, just give me a reason. But at the same time, the I really liked how the grandpa kind of slowly. I mean, like you said, that type of man comes in the dozen. I mean, I'm sure, and now that I'm living in the South, I see it more often. But even on the West Coast, or I guess just in general, like, that type of conservative mindset with older men, it just comes from all around the world. And
Mhm,
like, I really did feel like, you know, he did struggle, the grandpa, because of his conservative mindset and his worldview, and I just feel like if Daniel wasn't resilient, if he was, like, the type of kid to, like, back down from a fight, he probably would've let his grandpa walk all over him. So I'm really happy that, throughout the whole book, Daniel was, like, really like, "This is who I am. This is who I am. You either take it or leave it." And he was, like, ready to go at a moment's notice. Like, he was
mhm,
just like, "If I have to go, I'm going to leave." And I really like that end scene where I think it was, like, a full circle moment of, like, they had that one final argument, and then he's packing his things, getting ready to go, and then the grandpa's like, "Wait, what are you doing? Like, why are you don't pack up. Like, I don't want you to leave." And I think that just made him realize, like, I'm really pushing this kid out. Like, my words are essentially my punches. So, I'm really happy that, he came around at the end. He was more accepting. I also like throughout the entire relationship, Daniel was like, "Okay," like, what was that scene where, like, "Okay, I'll go to church on Sundays only," when the grandpa was like, "But we go to church Wednesdays and Sundays." And then they're like, "No, like, we're gonna do a compromise." I also liked, like, the scene where, Daniel, I think, was home alone and he did all the chores in the house, and the grandpa was, like, really impressed, and he had, like, nothing bad to say until, obviously, that one scene where he canned the peaches, and he was like, that's a I don't know if he said if that was a sissy thing, but I think he said, like, "Men are not supposed to can peaches, that's a woman's job," or something like that.
Yeah.
that's
Um,
exactly what he said.
Yeah.
and I definitely relate to that a lot, especially with my upcoming. Like, I was not allowed in the kitchen. I was not allowed to cook. Every time I asked my grandma to cook, she'd be like, "You're a guy. You're not allowed to cook. Like, you're gonna get married to a girl and she's gonna cook for you." Which, haha, grandma, that didn't happen. But yeah, like, that I really do relate to, like, just a lot of aspects in this book, and I really like how, like, the grandpa eventually came around, but there was a lot of back and forth for sure. Like, I was more, I don't wanna say fearful, but I was, like, more into, like, the grandpa versus Daniel storyline versus the Daniel versus, like, school bully storyline. That's what I was more related to.
Mhm,
As far as the full circle moment, I liked it, but I was actually kind of worried that we might get a repeat of what happened in the past. I wasn't sure where the story was gonna go, right? It is a retelling. Um, a modern reimagining of Anne of Green Gables. Like, I wasn't sure if we were gonna take it that far and have him eventually actually try and leave, or if it was gonna be a full circle moment where he realizes that, like, if I do hit him, he's going to leave, or if I hit him, maybe Mima and him leave. Like, there are repercussions to my actions, and I've had these repercussions happen before with my son leaving, so I need to fix what's wrong with me, essentially. So I really liked that. I really liked that, as Brandon said, where Daniel was packing up his stuff and the granddad came in and was like, "What are you doing? I don't want you to leave." And like that actually is when my heart melted a little bit. I was like, "Okay, all right." But yeah, really enjoyed the fact that he did have a full circle moment and that he didn't push Daniel away and that he accepted him for who he was. I thought that was beautiful. I also really liked that Daniel kind of inserted himself in Mima and his grandpa's, like, marriage or whatever, and was like, "Here, I bought this present for you.
Mm.
Give to your wife." It's like, dang,
I
it's
have the
bad. You know it's
I
bad when you have to have somebody else go buy you a gift.
I was so riled up by that, like, little mini, scene, like, first of all, $1,000 is a lot to raise in one day, and you're giving it all to the church? I literally
Mhm.
I got so mad within that one section because, like, I have family who, like, well, we grew up in the church and, like, they would give money to the church, and I'm like, "Why are you giving money to the church? They don't need our money." But yeah, that entire scene, like, got me so riled up, and I really liked how Daniel was like, "Here's my cut. This is my money. Go take your wife on a date."
Mm.
Mhm.
It's
And
actually
tell her she's
funny.
pretty.
It's funny that you bring up giving money to the church because I remember when I got my first job, I was a referee at soccer. I made a lot of money, by the way. So, kids, if you're listening, I don't know if you listen to our podcast, go do that. You make a shit ton of money. Anyway, and I remember like when I used to get paid, my parents would make me give 10% of what I earned to the church because that's what
No.
you're supposed to do. And so I had to give 10% every week or every time I went to the church. And like as I've like grown up and stuff, I'm like, they get tax-free money. Why am I giving them money? Like,
Mhm.
Exactly,
what?
exactly.
It's a scam. It is a
It's
scam.
the
That is
biggest scam.
crazy. I thankfully I was never forced to do anything like that. I didn't like reading this. I was like, oh yeah, people do this. Like that blows my mind.
Yeah.
Because I got really riled up about the granddad being like, "You're giving it to the church immediately," and she just laid that envelope on the table, like, didn't say a word. Oh, she said, "Yes, sir," which also pissed me off in a crazy
Yeah.
way. I was like, "Hell no." She has to say, "Yes, sir," to her husband?
Hmm.
Mm,
Like,
Yeah, that's fair.
he probably had not seen her smile like that in God knows how long, and he immediately ripped it off her face.
mm,
Like, immediately. I have a list of things that made me cry, and we've talked about some of them already. Dan canning the peaches, Dan and his friends making the labels for Mama, the fishing scene, Dan buying Mama the dress and giving it to her grandpa. I'm glad that you brought that up because I think that is one of the most like expertly written scenes of Daniel in the book. It like you could show that to someone out of context and they would know exactly who he is just from
mhm.
that scene. That's such a beautiful, selfless thing to do while also teaching this old ass man a lesson. And he's so dumbfounded by it that he doesn't even say a word.
Yep.
He just takes it and does it, and it makes her so happy. And I just like closed the book and was like shaking, crying over it. And my
Yeah.
corgi was like, "What the fuck is going on? Why are you upset?" Like on my face, tapping me, and I'm like, "I'm good. I'm just gay."
It was so authoritative, and I loved it. And it
Mhm.
needed to happen for sure because, I mean, it's almost like a tale as old as time, like, these types of, like, old relationships where, they're together, they love each other, but, like, they clearly don't show that they love each other, and I'm really
Mhm.
happy that Daniel, like, inserted himself in their relationship, like you guys said earlier, and made sure, like,
Mhm.
"Hey, you guys are married. Tell her she's pretty. Take her on a date." I do that all the time with my partner. I'm like, "You haven't told me I'm pretty lately. You haven't taken me out lately. Like, what's going on? Am I ugly all of a sudden?" So, like, I'm very confrontational about all that.
Hey, you need what you need, you
It's
know?
it's
Yeah.
actually that's actually funny because sometimes I'll be like, "I'm hot," like temperature hot, and then
Yeah.
Chris will be like, "Oh, yeah, you are." I'm like, "That's not shut up."
I was gonna say, Chris, I get to experience it sometimes when we're on games, and Chris is very the opposite of that grandpa when it
Oh, yeah.
comes to making sure you know how much
Oh,
he
yeah.
wants you all the time. The last relationship that I want to talk about in the book is that with his mom, Rafaela, aka Rain. As I said earlier, at the beginning of this book, the book starts with them in a car on a road trip, and she tells him that she doesn't know where they're going. They're just going to go wherever the wind takes them, and she takes him to his dead dad's parents' house to stay the night. And in the middle of the night, she leaves and leaves him a note that says it's better this way. And they
Mhm.
do not speak for almost an entire year. She doesn't leave a phone number, and she didn't ask for their phone number. So this child, this 15-year-old child, the only person that he's ever known, the only consistent person in his life, leaves him. How did y'all feel about the way this character was handled? And I guess what I'm wondering about it is, was there enough emotional buildup for that to be any type of cathartic experience at the end? Because I'm gonna be honest, I didn't have much of one when it came to the mom, and I'm just
N
wondering where everyone else stands on that.
Well, for me, like, she was definitely an absent parent, 100%. Even throughout his life, he was an absent parent, and I relate to that a lot because my parents were pretty absent for moments of my life as well. I had a very similar experience where my mom kind of just left us at our grandma's place for the night, and then all of a sudden, we don't see her again for another year, because she's out chasing my dad. So that's kind of what happened. I'm just now even like making those connections now that I'm thinking about it, and that's probably why subconsciously, while like the mom was in the book, I was like, ugh, get out of my face! Like I do not care about your character. And even at the end, when the mom came back, I was like, ugh, she doesn't care about him, like, I just knew immediately, like, I'm like, "She doesn't care, she's doing this for herself,
Mm.
she misses him, but, like, for all the wrong reasons." And, like, what did she say at the end?
We're gonna get better together.
Yeah, we're gonna get better together, and then, like, he made it super sweet with, like, "I'm Batman, you're Robin," and then what did she say at the very end? Like, "I don't accept that you are staying," or something like that? "I won't give you my blessing, but it's your choice." So that's very much like a backhanded, like, "Whatever, stay here, but, like, I don't want you to stay here," and that's exactly how my mom was and still is sometimes. So, like, I guess I didn't make this connection, like, while I was reading it. I'm, like, making the connections now that I'm talking about it. I guess I saw my mom a lot in this character, and that's probably, why I was so dismissive. Like, I just did not care for her because she did not care for Daniel. And Daniel, well, he was very upset about it, and he even visibly no, he even said, like, I think later in the book, like, "I think about her every hour," or something like that. So he loves his mom. He loves his
Mhm.
mom. That's probably, like, the stark difference, and I'm not saying I don't love my mom, but it's just, like, I don't think about my mom for days sometimes. So, like, it's just, like, he clearly loved his mom, and his mom loved him, but, for selfish reasons.
Yeah. I was worried actually when they were talking about like being Batman and Robin together. I was like, he better not. He better not. He better
Yeah.
figure out that it's
Mhm.
not for him and it's for her.
Same. He's, like, laying his head on her shoulder, and they're, like, smiling. I was like, "This motherfucker." She's done
Right?
dug the claws in.
Yeah.
Right?
And then I think in that exact same panel, like, the grandparents are watching and, like, they're crying in the background or something like that, or they're, like, upset in the background because 'cause they're like, "Oh, he's gonna leave us."
Yeah.
Um, and I'm really happy he didn't. I
Mhm.
actually did have a moment, I was just like, "If you leave for her, I'm gonna be so mad because
Right.
obviously, at that point, there's only a few pages left, and I'm just like, "Do not leave with her, please don't throw this book." I would've probably thrown the book across the room if he had left with her.
Mhm.
But no, it didn't. I mean, I don't know. She was absent for so long in the book. I didn't really have a connection to her, the mom. And like the whole ending scene really just like pissed me off more than it made me emotional, I guess, just because like I was like we've hashed out a couple times already, like it wasn't for him. It was for her. She wanted to make herself feel better. She got out of the last relationship that she was in and realized it wasn't a good one, like all her other ones, and
Yeah.
came back to come get him and he was like, I'm not leaving. And good for him.
Mhm.
Set your roots. Make a home.
Yeah, I'm glad that we all landed in the same place because, like, when she showed back up, I literally said out loud, I was like, "And what about it?" Like, I don't care. I was instantly mad too. I was like, "He is this perfect, sweet baby child that you just gave up on, and he has planted roots and is blooming in a crazy way and has, like, changed this community probably forever, and you wanna take him away from" like,
Mhm.
also, for the context of anyone who hasn't read this and isn't planning on reading it, this kid had never, ever had a best friend, had never had a home, like, was never eating anything other than, like, fast food or gas station donuts. Literally, when he said gas station donuts, I wanted to cry about that. I was like, "What the fuck?" Like,
Mhm.
their life was that, like, uprooted that
Mhm.
there was no sense of normalcy to him. They would sleep in cars.
Mhm.
So she drops him off here and he builds this life and feels happy for the first time in a very long time. And he says that. And she's like, "Nope, I'm your mom. You're coming with me." He did get to stay. He got to stay. It was a very beautiful little ending. But I was like, "You didn't need to do this in these last 5 pages. We never needed to see her again."
Right?
Yeah.
So
No, I
have her
kind of
send a
agree.
letter,
Yeah.
Al
Yeah, I would've been fine with a letter.
Also, as a mom, could never, by the way, could
Mhm.
never just be like, "Yeah, bye.
Yeah.
I'm out."
Yeah.
I couldn't no. Mm-mm.
I don't yeah. Yeah. Again, like, she was so not there at the beginning, not there at the end. There was no cathartic reaction for me other than anger. So,
Yeah.
I'm glad that we all landed on it. Were there any other specific things in the book that either of y'all wanted to talk about before we wrap up this section of the pod?
I really liked his friends. Like, I mean, it was very diverse. There was definitely a lot of cliches, you know. The football character had a crush on him, and he was friends with like the outcasts. What really got to me was that one scene in the book where like that guy from California moved in. That they immediately like pawned him off on Daniel, and then Daniel was being nothing but nice to this guy, and then he was like, "I'm not like you." I don't know if he said, like, "I'm not gay" or something, or I don't know exactly what he
He
said,
said,
but
I'm no homo."
"I'm no homo." Okay, yeah. And I was just like, "Damn, all he was trying to do was be nice to you." You know, I've also had kind of similar experiences like that where, like, I'm being nice to people because I can tell that they're new and they might be uncomfortable, and then they lash out at me, like, I'm not gay," or something like that. I'm like, "Oh, hold on, I'm just trying to be your friend." But, yeah, it's definitely, there's a lot of things in this book that I really did resonate with, and, you know, I didn't grow up in the South, and I have no connection to Dolly. I probably only know one of her songs, but, it was definitely, like, a really good kind of book to read, and I definitely would recommend it to, like, a teenager who's trying to, like, figure themselves out a little bit, or they want, like, a good coming out story. I feel like it's a lot more prevalent now in this current generation. I feel like for me, like, I'm it was kind of, like, becoming more acceptable, what, in, like, 2015 when gay marriage was legalized? That's kind of
Mhm.
when, like, things became more acceptable, so I was kind of late in the game, and I really enjoyed this book a lot. I actually read it in one sitting.
Same.
Also same.
Well, that's a really good segue to what is everyone's out of 5 stars, what would you give this book?
I definitely would give this book a 4. There were like, I think what really irked me about this book was, like, the cliches. Like, again, like, the football guy, you know, having a crush. I'm actually happy they didn't kiss. If they had kissed, I think I would have been like, "Here we go." And then the other cliche was like, I'm going to college to go to art school." I'm like, not I mean, don't get me wrong, like, but not every single gay boy wants to go to art school. I went to art school, but, like, it's just, like, there was just some cliches here and there that kind of was just, like, kind of annoyed me. But other than that, I mean, as somebody who didn't, like, deeply connect, well, maybe I did actually, maybe I'm making the connections now that I'm, like, actually talking about it, but, like, as somebody who didn't grow up in the South, didn't have, like, a traditional coming out story, I really did enjoy this, and yeah, 4 out of 5 for sure.
I would also probably give it a 4 out of 5. I don't really like it was good, I just didn't think it was great, and that's really, like,
Mhm.
where I'm coming from it. I did like how we got to kind of see all of the characters kind of develop in their own way, except for Mima. Mima was perfect. but she didn't need any development. But you know, it was really good, and I'm glad that Dan gets to set his roots in I can't say it, Tennessee. I can't say
Yeah.
rural.
Rural. I just kind of make sounds until it sounds right, you know? I too am a 4 out of 5. For me, it's kind of the same thing. Because it's a very juvenile book. It's written for teenagers, you know? And I think that's where it is for me. Because like while there's a lot of depth in it, there's still a lot of surface level that takes away from what the story could have been had it been a little less focused on the silly little romance or like the mom. The mom's not
Yeah.
silly. The mom is deep, but like the way the mom was handled brings it down a little bit for me. I
Yeah.
wish there had been some type of scene in the middle that it would have given me more room for that ending to hit me a little
Yeah.
bit harder than it did, you know?
Yeah.
Last thing about it, in the back of the book, it has the canned peach recipe, which
Yes.
I thought was a lovely little addition, but there's also a letter. And I wanted to talk to you guys about it because this story is very much what the writer's life was like, except he changed it a little bit because his grandma, his mama that he loved so much, died when he was in middle school. Like, so a lot of this story is like what he imagined it would have been like to spend more time with her. But then when it comes to the granddad, he never had a happy ending or reconciliation with his granddad, and he wanted to change that in on the page. And I thought that was a very, like, beautiful, honest thing to, like, add into this book because, yeah, I feel like that's such a more honest thing that happened. Not honest, but, like, that's what usually happens down here. There's not
Mhm.
really a big come together beautiful moment like it is in this, and kids need to read the beautiful moment, but it's nice to know that, you know, he got to take control of that narrative and change it for himself, and I just thought that was a lovely thing to add.
Yeah.
I love that we all had 4 out of 5. I think that's funny.
Yeah.
Moving on to lighter, brighter things. What pop culture pitches do you guys have for this week? Every week on the pod, we pitch something that we love in pop culture right now. Be that a TV show, a movie, a book, an album, a video game. So, what do you have, Brandon? Have you thought about it at all?
Yeah, well, I am I feel like I always stand, like, semi-problematic divas. I am an Ariana Grande fan. So she just released her new song yesterday, and then she released the music video today, and I really love the music video. I don't know the male actor's name, in the music video. He's a very famous actor. I just don't know his name, but, like, it
It's
was really
Justin Long.
Justin Long, and I really enjoyed the entire music video, especially that scene where, like, he, like, is on fire, and then he goes over to, like, the diner, and, like, every single person in the diner turns into Ariana Grande, and I just love the song in general. Why am I forgetting the title? Like, "Sorry I Made You Love Me," something like that, and, I love how, like, innocent it sounds, but at the same time, it's, like, a little bit narcissistic, and, like, that's the demon twink in me, I guess. Like, I really do like, the the undertones of it. It's like and I'm not a demon twink anymore, but there is a little demon twink inside me, and every once in a while, he's crawling his way out, and it comes out when Ariana Grande has a new song. So, that's me right now. Also, Euphoria season 3 ended yesterday. I have not watched it. I'm already spoiled. So, but I can't wait to watch it tomorrow when my partner comes home from work. But that's kind of the pop culture things this week. I also have Ariana Grande tickets, and I'm seeing her on her birthday. So I can't
Nice.
wait for that.
That's fun.
My God, the intense jealousy flowing through my body right now is fucking crazy. I love the song, by the way. I think it is a fantastic first single. I'm so excited. I'm so jealous of you. You're gonna have such a good time at her birthday show. What the
Yeah,
fuck?
can't wait.
Also, good luck with Euphoria. That's all I'm gonna say. Good luck. Marsh, what's your pop culture pick for the week?
So first off, I don't know anything about Ariana Grande, so I felt completely lost. But
You're good.
that's fine.
I'll make you a
All you need to know
playlist.
that she brings out the demon twink inside of me.
That's fair. That's so I have two things this week. One of an artist that I really like put out a new album a couple weeks ago. Her name is Maisie Peters. It is the album Fluorescence. There's a song on there that I am obsessed with called Questions, and it's just a really good album. It's like She has like breakup albums. This is like a more like accepting album, but then like also kind of has like some like breakup songs in there, and Questions is one of them. But it's really really good. There's like a line in it where it's like she's asking questions in the song, and then it's like, "That's rhetorical, babe," and I'm like, "Speak off, queen. Go on." And then my other thing is the James Bond game, 007 First Light. Love it. It's probably, to all the people who have played GoldenEye on N64, recognize that game is old as hell. It's a good game, old as hell. This game is better. And I'll fight you in the comments or wherever you want to fight. No, it's just a really good story. It's like an origin story of how James Bond became James Bond, and you just kind of go through like his first missions, and kind of see how he got his 00 license and stuff like that. I haven't quite finished it yet, but like the gameplay is amazing. The story is really really good. I think it's really really fun. So loving it. Also, who did it? I think it was Lord. Maybe not. I get her confused with somebody else. Not Lord. Who sounds like Lord? I don't know.
Oh my god.
Who sounds like Lord? I have no idea.
I don't know. Lana Del Rey. I get those two confused. Don't ask me why. I have no idea.
I knew you were gonna say Lana, and I was like, "Oh, please don't say Lana," because I would be a little offended.
Lana did the James Bond theme song?
She did. Yeah, she did. And it's beautiful.
Yeah, it was a good. I devoured it. I'm also a Lana Del Rey stan. Lana Del Rey stan. Yeah, even though she's not inherently problematic, but deep down, I know there's something.
And by the way, I didn't mean that she sounded like Lord. I just get them confused whenever I talk about them. I'm like, Lord, and my sister's like Lana Del Rey, and I'm like, that one. That is correct.
They're both really moody and have beautiful hair. I get it. I did not know that, but it's only because I've like expunged Lana from social media and Spotify and everywhere because of my ex was a really, really, really big Lana Del Rey stan, and it ended in a really crazy and insane way. And so anytime I hear Lana, I'm like it's like an instant jump scare. I'll get there one day with her, but it's we're still a year out at this point.
Yeah, our us Lana fans are crazy. But continue.
Yeah, what is your pop culture?
Also, I do want to say this because you just reminded me. The fact that you have called yourself a demon twink on this Pride podcast like 4 times is one of the funniest fucking things to me. I love that.
It's like I'm
You're
no
like, I'm not a
longer
twink anymore. But
Yeah, I'm no longer a twink, but there is one inside me.
you're a demon twunk. You've become a demon twunk. You've graduated.
There you go.
My pop culture pitch for the week, instead of doing an actual pitch, I'm just gonna like rattle off a bunch of feel good queer stories and movies for anyone who's listening that might not be queer, that might want to watch something that feels good and isn't just about gay people being sad. Because a lot of the media that we get in film and television and most stories are just gay and sad. So these are some happy stories. Heartstopper, the comic book and the TV show, very easy to watch both of them. Love, Simon, the book and the movie, very, very easy, very happy. Red, White, and Royal Blue, the book and the movie, again, very happy. See You at the Finish Line, a novel by Zach Komet. I read it last year. It's like the rom-com of my dreams. Feels like Sweet Home Alabama. Feels like all those like straight movies I watched growing up that like gave me a warped image of love. That's what that book feels like. Carry On by Rainbow Rowell, which is basically gay wizards. So it's fun and lovely and mostly happy. There's a little sad in it. And then Young Avengers, all forms, specifically the Kieran Gillen run, because there's so much diversity in that run, and it's just lovely and fun, and again, happy. So yeah, that's gonna be my pop culture pitch for the week. Happy gay times for everyone. But that's kind of all I have for the rest of the pod. Does anyone have any final thoughts on anything before we hit the road?
No,
I don't.
this was
All
fun.
right. Well, thank you for coming on with us.
Yes.
You were one of the first people that we thought about when we decided who we wanted to invite, and it's always lovely chatting with you. You have a great energy.
Thank you.
Very grateful that you came on.
I mean, you guys were the first, no, not like the first, but you guys were one of the first 2 people that I followed on TikTok, and always admired you guys' like videos. And I know I haven't been on much lately, but I'm really happy that you guys had brought me over and still think of me. So this was a lot of fun, and thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely.
Of course. Also, I am glad that you're back on TikTok. Kind of.
Thank you. Kind of. I'm getting there.
Kind of.
I'm getting there.
I always know when you log in because like I'll see that you've like liked things that I've reposted or like liked things, and I'm like, I'm like, "Oh, he logged in today.
Yes,
Okay."
yes.
Well, next week, our guest is going to be Dorkacole. Very excited about that. We're gonna be reading what's it called? Alan Scott, The Green Lantern?
Yes.
The Gay Green Lantern. The first Green Lantern, allegedly? I don't
The
really know
first
the lore.
Green
I guess we'll
Lantern?
find out.
Yes. Yes.
I
Ooh.
think it's gonna be sad gay time with that book. I have a bad feeling about it. I saw, like, a list of trigger warnings, and I was like, "What have I done?" But we should have a good time. Thank you again, Brandon, for joining us today, and Marsh, same time next week.
Same bat time, same bat channel.